When you're so young at 20, 21, you think you're an adult and you need to hurry up and make a decision. No, pursue your passion at that age because it's like you have still so much time. Be more forgiving with yourself. Now you're transitioning to adulthood. So you're thinking about financial aspects when that will come, in time. Mm-hmm. Hopefully. I'm Katrina Cebreiro. I'm an indie filmmaker. I come from Buena Park, California. I write, direct, produce, and edit films. My dad and me would make films together with his home video camera, and he was always very inspired by that. He loved watching films, making films. He kind of brought that spark in me as well. We would just make films every weekend, like as a way to bond, because he was away a lot working. And I remember this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I don't know why I remember it, but it's very specific. And I was like 3 or 4 years old. And then when I got older, I would start making films with all the kids on the block, start putting them in my films. And I was so consumed by filmmaking. I didn't have very many other friends. I was just only thought about filmmaking. And I remember thinking wow, I have no one to play with at recess, because that's all I thought about. And then I would start getting made fun of a little bit. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I put it away until I got to college. I feel like it took a while to accept that passion again back in my life. I was kind of I don't care that much, as a way to protect myself from maybe past, getting made fun of or putting yourself out there. So I was lucky enough to have such a supportive family. I feel like sometimes when I get doubtful, I have a supportive tribe that helps me through it. I wonder, can I do it without that supportive tribe? Because there's such a high demand of people wanting to work, so they can offer, hey, well, if you want to work, you got to work for free or for really low rates. And having the supportive family and parents that were like, hey, if you're not making any money, you can live here rent free, we'll help you, whatever you want to do, that we're going to support you. I think if I didn't have that, I would be I need to do a real job, and then pursue it on the side, so I wouldn't maybe be able to invest as much time and money that I would want to in filmmaking. I got a degree in film and production and television production. I worked in the industry for a year after my bachelor's, and then I came back and got my master's in screenwriting more specifically. The internships helped me kind of build that resume to get my first jobs out of college without really any deep connections in the industry. And then also I went to Cal State Fullerton. The professors work actively in the industry at Cal State's, especially local ones to Los Angeles. So UCLA and USC don't have as active professors. They're more come from an educational background. So I think going to Cal State Fullerton was actually beneficial because these professors are also actively working in the industry and they can pull you on to projects. So that's happened. If you don't get into these big film schools, UCLA and USC, you can actually still build good connections with professors and students at Cal State's. For me, I think talent is just having the passion to keep going. That's what will make you better. I remember the first screenplay I wrote was really bad. And I remember feeling very sad about it, I can't be a screenwriter. It's not natural for me. So I wanted to quit and try something else because I wasn't good at it initially. Making my first films as well in film school were really, really bad. And I was so sad about it because I was I put so much effort into it. Why did it come out so bad, These other film students, look at how good their work is. They're just naturally talented. They didn't have to work at it. Maybe it's the way society projects talent is you need to be good at it initially, as opposed to working on it and building the craft. I think if you have that innate passion, building the craft will come and you will get better. For me, when I'm become good at something, it's never that natural at first. I'm having to constantly work at it, humiliate myself before I get better. And people are oh, wow, you're such a good, director. Your films come out so good. You're so talented. But for me, I've definitely been humiliated and worked past that and let that drive me to become better. Especially, I think, the position as a director. It's oh, you need to be Quentin Tarantino initially. But I think that takes practice as well, having natural instincts that you develop as time goes on that make you considered a talented director, as opposed to what you didn't have initially when you first start doing it. My first production where I did and had it screened at the Chinese theater. And I remember being very nervous, obviously, to see the work on the big screen.
How many people were there?
35 people. It doesn't sound like a lot, but even 5 people, I would have been nervous. Everyone was nice after, but it was bad. When the drama moments were supposed to be dramatic, got laughs. And then there's this beat with this dialogue that kind of like tells the drama and like, oh, this is gonna make the audience cry. Instead, the audience started laughing because it was awkward and the dialogue was awkward and they couldn't do anything but just to laugh. But instead of letting it get me down in film school, I was like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do better. Because I embarrassed myself in front of so many people that I was like, I'm gonna come back and it's gonna do better. So I use that as inspiration as opposed to like letting it get me down. Maybe it's not meant for me. There's a ton of little details that go into pre-production. Getting ready for the film, planning for the film, crewing up your film, deciding the budget and gathering the budget, finding the locations, costumes, actors, casting the actors, rehearsal if you believe in rehearsals, and scheduling the production. I feel like you have a plan going into production, but things always go wrong on set. I work on set as a producer, and that's how I finance my indie film projects. Even when I started working on bigger sets, I went to Oklahoma to shoot and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be such a well-oiled machine. I'm on this big production. But no, it's just the same as your indie film set. Things do go awry, and being flexible in that has always served me. I've never been very strict on like, it needs to be this way. If somebody makes a suggestion, I'm very open to doing it that way. So much so that I question myself. I'm like, do I not have a vision if I'm so flexible? Sometimes I go on set and there's more strict directors. They're not that flexible. I'm like, are they a visionary? Am I not a visionary or not as good because I'm so flexible, you know? Because when I did try to be more strict, it wasn't true to myself. It wasn't as good as it could have came if I was my natural, more flexible, like, you know, on set, easygoing self, you know, as opposed to being so strict. That's what I feel like I would love to like give advice to people. You don't have to do as you see, like, oh, this is how I need to do things and how I need to be. And that's what works for them. Just because they're successful at it and it works for them doesn't mean it's going to be successful and work for you. Post-production's my favorite part. Like, I love seeing the footage when you first get into the edit bay and you're like organizing the footage and you get to see the shots and how it came together is like the most fulfilling part. It's very exciting to me. I edit myself, so I would go through and organize the footage, editing it scene by scene initially, or sometimes I'll start with like my favorite scene or like kind of like the climactic scene. Editing helps me, you know, save a lot of money on films because I can edit myself. Other people can find it tedious and quite boring, but yeah, we enjoy that part. When my film's finally ready, the final edit's done, it's locked in. I put it through film festivals. I like to premiere it in front of an audience. And then after premiering it and it going through the film festivals, then I put it on streaming services and online. So with putting my films out there, I do make a little bit of money, but it's not enough to sustain or pay back the film. Yeah, I haven't crossed that platform at being, I feel like, a successful in that way. That's why I was like hesitant to initially do the interview, because I haven't been able to financially sustain myself with just filmmaking alone. Initially, definitely invested a lot of my own money and still do into my own film projects. And it being financially sustainable isn't there for me yet. I have no doubt that it will be someday. And that's what keeps me going. And I love putting my films out there. Regardless of the financial aspect, I will keep doing this until, you know, till the end of time, because that's just my desire. It's just this innate desire that I can't get rid of and that I always want. Whenever I have any money, I only want to put it to films. But when I start thinking about society and what society thinks, like, oh, why are you investing in your films? You should be investing in, you know, this or that. That's when I get scared. So I do get doubtful when I start thinking as what society portrays of what I'm doing. But when I just focus on my instincts or what feels good for me, it's just investing my money in my own film projects. Screening in front of an audience, especially a very big audience, is the way I got better as a filmmaker. I had the biggest audience at this one film festival. They invited like high school students to the film festival to watch my film, like 300 students. So it was like such a huge audience. And these teenagers are so animated that they're yelling at the screen and then they're, you know, laughing and like saying things, because I was scared, thinking like, this sucks, you know, but they loved it and they were like reacting to it the way that I've written it, evicting the emotions that you want to as a storyteller and getting that reaction, the best feeling. In that moment when I was sitting back there watching everybody watch this film, was when like, this is what I'm meant to do. I just gotta keep going, you know, and it'll pay off one day.